He didn't threaten you, right? No, I never even spoke a single word to him. Please don't ever engage with people like that again. Thank God I stayed in my car, kept to myself, and didn't respond. This wasn't anything but targeted harassment people. Tailing you, filming you, trying to provoke a reaction. Does he even live around here? No, just another internet clout chaser, twisting narratives, turning nothing into controversy. But your boss even know him? Probably not. He's one of those so-called video creators, and now, right in the middle of this media circus, sits Tiffany Henyard Meyer of Dalton, Illinois, Mac, at the center of a political storm, overwhelmed by public outrage. Why? Because leaked Bodycam footage just dropped, showing federal agents arresting her? Yes, arrested. And honestly, it's been a long time coming. She's been under intense scrutiny for months. Now it's boiling over. The allegations? Corruption, misconduct, and blatant dishonesty. This isn't just drama. This is the real deal. Real charges. Real damage. The people of Dalton have had it. They're done with the excuses. And now, after years of alleged fraud, mismanagement, and cover-ups, it's all unraveling. And those three loudmouths who follow her around? They talk like they've got it all figured out. Like they're geniuses, but they sound completely clueless. You listen to Tiffany Henyard speak, and you don't hear a mayor. You hear someone totally unqualified to lead. Rumors of her arrest had been circulating for months, and most folks in town saw this coming. Now it's confirmed. Reports say the FBI has taken her into custody. The woman who thought she was untouchable could soon be trading the mayor's office for a prison cell. The investigation reportedly began back in November. Since then, subpoenas have been flying, revealing a deep, tangled web of fraud, shady financial dealings, and attempts to cover it all up. And just last week, locals held a protest titled "Take Our Town Back." That says it all. People are fed up, angry, and demanding accountability. And this isn't her first brush with the law either. Unlike her earlier arrest for unlawfully entering someone's car, this time she's facing a mountain of trouble. 22 criminal charges. 22. That's not just a scandal. It's a full-blown implosion. Even her own lawyer dropped her, allegedly because she couldn't afford to pay him. Meanwhile, the village of Dalton is buried in a $20 million financial hole. That's what happens when someone with no business holding power runs a town like it's their private empire. Let's break it down. Henyard got elected mayor in 2021, but most of her money and influence? That came from her role as township supervisor, a position that paid her over $220,000 a year. And how did she get that? Job. The previous person in that role passed away, and she slid right in. Then, to protect her position, she passed a rule slashing the salary for anyone running against her down to $25,000, from over $220,000 to $25,000 just to make sure no one challenged her. That's not public service. It's a power grab. It's gotten so messy that the town had to hire a former Chicago official at $400 an hour just to start sorting through the wreckage. That's how desperate the situation has become. But now it looks like accountability might finally be on the horizon. After months of smoke and mirrors, delays, and finger-pointing, things are moving fast. And for the first time in a long time, Dalton might finally see justice. Village officials, some of whom have been raising alarms for months, are finally feeling a sense of relief. The FBI is doing what no one else dared to do: protect the town from the very person who was supposed to serve it. For months, officials and residents have begged for answers, pointing out how millions have disappeared with no receipts, no paperwork, no trace, and now the investigation is blowing the lid off fraud, embezzlement, theft of taxpayer dollars, exposing a mayor who allegedly treated public funds like her own piggy bank. This isn't just another political mess. It's a warning, a playbook for what happens when someone is given too much power and zero oversight. And now, the entire community is reeling from the aftermath. In breaking news, federal agents have officially raided both the village of Dalton and Thornton Township. The FBI served subpoenas and seized documents directly tied to the corruption allegations against Tiffany Henyard. This major development was first reported by ABC 7 News. Agents gathered police records, payroll files, and financial documents as part of their investigation Internally, Henyard has faced fierce criticism, even from her own counsel. Some have condemned her openly. In a recent interview, she claimed she's innocent and pointed the blame at her critics. But this is gone far beyond political bickering. The council even brought in former Chicago mayor and ex-U.S. Attorney Lori Lightfoot to lead an independent probe into Henyard's administration. Allegations are snowballing. One city employee accused her of sexual assault during a Las Vegas trip. There are also reports of unpaid staff, unlawful terminations, and systemic abuse of power and the people around her. The three folks still backing her? They're not just wrong, they're dangerously deluded. They sound like they live in a world of make-believe. Their words mean nothing. They've got zero credibility. And the fact that Tiffany Henyard is still speaking publicly, still trying to sell herself as a leader, it's absurd. During her appearance on a recent show, FBI agents were reportedly on site conducting interviews. But that's not all. Controversy extends to her misuse of the police department. A former Dalton police chief said she regularly ordered her police escorts to run her personal errands instead of performing official duties. Officers who were supposed to be protecting the community were turned into her private chauffeurs. That's not leadership, that's exploitation. Critics are calling her one of the most self-serving officials Dalton has ever seen. Whistleblowers claim she's fired anyone who tried to hold her accountable across the country. Tiffany Henyard has become a lightning rod for controversy. In a small Illinois town, nearly everyone wants her gone. Why? Because she's allegedly abused public money, misused power, and treated the village like it belonged to her. Her security team alone reportedly costs $250,000 a year in taxpayer money. But that's just the start. She plastered her name across giant billboards, stuck it on government cars. Buildings even printed a personalized 2024 calendar with her birthday front and center. On top of it all, she rigged the election process. As mayor, she earns around $225,000 per year. But she passed a rule slashing the salary for any challenger down to $25,000 a blatant move to kill off any competition. And yet, despite her attempts to lock down her position, people are still stepping up to challenge her. They've had enough. But this isn't just about politics. For the residents of Dalton, it's personal. This is about fear, financial strain, and a community neglected and exploited by the very person elected to protect it. These testimonies expose the raw human cost of Tiffany Henyard's alleged corruption. Behind every scandalous headline lies real suffering, deep, personal trauma left in her wake. One courageous woman came forward and revealed that she had waited decades, 20, maybe even 30 years for justice. But when her own worst nightmare finally became reality, silence was no longer an option. She said justice must come now. More waiting, no more stalling. She had already battled the trauma, endured the depression, and turned to prayer for strength. And now, ready to stand tall. But it's not just about her anymore. She's using her voice for every woman who's been silenced, who's lived in fear, and who's felt abandoned. She speaks for those who've been ignored and left powerless, and she refuses to stand alone. She stands for them all. Those who worked directly under Henyard saw the chaos up close. Assistants were expected to be open and honest, especially when Tiffany was in the room. She constantly demanded feedback, often while multitasking or barking orders. One assistant recalled a conversation about an upcoming business trip. As they discussed the itinerary, she mentioned, "That's my 31st birthday, May 21st. I've never been to Vegas, and I didn't even know if I'd be going. But being there on my birthday, even if it's for work, that would mean something to me." She added, "You know how hard I work. This isn't about partying, it's about experiencing something I've never had a chance to." The moment was sincere, grounded, and human. But that human side was rarely reflected by Henyard herself. In one now viral video, she completely lost her temper during a city meeting. She started screaming at officials in the room, yelling, "I'm the leader." The meltdown gave everyone a glimpse of someone unraveling, refusing to take any responsibility. "Y'all forget I'm the leader," she snapped. "People want to hear from the leader, not from people who sit around and just talk." It was the kind of display that made even her own allies raise eyebrows. Then came the hammer. Former Chicago mayor and ex-U.S. Attorney Lori Lightfoot released the findings from her independent investigation. Her report was brutal. According to Lightfoot, public funds meant to help the residents of Dalton were instead blown on pointless purchases and questionable spending. Critics say Henyard's reckless money habits only made Dalton's financial disaster worse. Meanwhile, everyday people in the community were left without the support they desperately needed. The public fury keeps growing, especially over her lavish lifestyle. She's accused of using taxpayer dollars to stay in luxury hotels and dine at high-end restaurants like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and Bubba Gump Shrimp Co., all under the excuse of conference travel. She even had the audacity to show up to a town meeting wearing a Bubba Gump hat right after residents started questioning her Las Vegas expenses. You can't make this up. When the press tried to get answers, Tiffany's responses were bizarre, almost unbelievable. A local reporter asked if she had been in Las Vegas, and she stared blankly. What is that? Then, when asked again, she quickly flipped. Of course I do, only to dodge every follow-up. Was the trip paid for with public funds? Did she fly first class? No answers. It's just more evasion, more confusion, more deflection. Meanwhile, the biggest bombshell yet was breaking out of Illinois. The FBI launched a full-scale raid on both the village of Dalton and Thornton Township. Agents served federal subpoenas tied to serious corruption allegations against Henyard. ABC 7 News confirmed. The story? FBI officials said they were executing court-authorized search warrants and seizing everything: police records, personnel files, financial data, anything linked to village business under Henyard's control. By this point, even her own counsel had turned against her. For months, they've criticized her leadership, or lack thereof, and called out her endless excuses. Henyard continued to deny wrongdoing, blaming her political enemies for everything. But it's clear this is gone far beyond politics. This is about alleged criminal behavior on a massive scale. To get to the bottom of it all, the council hired Lori Lightfoot to lead a full investigation. The allegations just keep stacking up. One of the most serious, a city employee came forward and accused Henyard of sexual assault during a government-funded trip to Las Vegas. That's in addition to claims of unpaid staff, illegal terminations, and a long-running pattern of financial abuse. One layer of scandal after another, none of it going away. Even as Tiffany Henyard tried to play innocent on live TV, FBI agents were reportedly monitoring everything, collecting evidence in real time. Sources say they were in the room while she was speaking, taking notes, connecting dots, and watching her every move. And this is where the story takes a darker turn. Those who have spoken up describe not just mismanagement, but fear, intimidation, a complete disregard for the people she was elected to serve. Insiders say she used her power not to lead but to control, to silence, and to protect herself at any cost. This isn't just a case of bad governance. It's a portrait of how absolute power can corrupt absolutely. And Tiffany Henyard? She may be running out of time, out of allies, and out of ways to spin the truth.